You are listening to the Academic Wellbeing series, brought to you by Academdum. This series is designed to help you understand how to apply your faith to your academics. If you've ever felt overwhelmed, disconnected, or simply in need of direction, you're in the right place. Let's dive in.
The science of understanding. I want you to know that understanding makes all the difference. Okay? Understanding makes all the difference in your relationships, in your communication, particularly even in your academics, in life in general. Understanding makes all the difference. I mean, if I'm going to picture understanding or give understanding a mental, like a visual, like an illustration. Let's illustrate what understanding is, right? I would picture, I don't know how many of you bake or are bakers, like you, yeah. If you bake, you would know that a cake, you can bake a cake, right? A cake, it's beautiful, it's brown, hopefully it's not blunt, right? But you can bake a cake brown, beautiful color, you've done all the flavoring and everything, and the cake is fine. Yeah, it's actually fine. It's good. It's alright. It tastes good. But that's without icing or any frosting or fondant or decorations or anything. The cake is still fine, right? Yes, it's fine. But you know that when you apply decoration, when you apply fondant, when you use fondant or buttercream or icing, well, I don't exactly bake, right? But let me say I'm an aspiring food critic. I love watching food and how people make food. I watch food content and I really, really want to do that. So yeah, I'm now being more intentional about culinary arts and critiquing food. But yes, I'm an aspiring food critic. So very soon, if you see me on Food Network and on your food channels, don't be surprised. I mean, but a cake is fine with or without frosting. But we know that if there is no frosting, there are certain frosting, decoration, fondant, let me say decoration in general, has a way it amplifies the taste of the cake itself. We agree on that, right? So you can, eating just cake and then cake with icing on it, or cake with buttercream, cake that's been decorated with buttercream or with fondant or whatever the case may be, there's a difference, a very clear, obvious difference. Yeah. Aside from that, your perception of the cake, all right, so the way you perceive the cake, the way you, I don't use the word respect, but yes, the way you perceive and yes, the way you perceive the cake, yeah, I think that's just the word. The way your perceived value of the cake, it amplifies, like it goes through the roof because of what is decoration. So you would not see your wedding cake, for instance, brought in without being decorated. I mean, that's just all shades of wrong. Why would you not decorate the wedding cake? It's a wedding. And it's a cake of a wedding or the cake at the wedding. It should be beautiful and pretty and nice and everything. But I mean, the cake already tastes good now, so why do you need to decorate it? Is it compulsory? But do you realize now that the decoration, the coloring, okay, not necessarily coloring, but decoration, the fondant, all these things amplify the value of the cake. So it's still the same cake, but there's obviously a difference between cake that is decorated and cake that is not decorated. So if you have those two cakes before you, there's every possibility that you would tend, even if you pick the one without decoration, you know that this one with decoration is pretty. It looks really good. So your perceived value of the cake increases. And the interesting thing is what? That cake is knowledge. That cake is life. The frosting, the decoration is understanding. Are you seeing what I'm saying? So when I made the statement that The beauty of knowledge is in understanding. Can you visualize it now with me? The beauty of knowledge is in understanding. The value of knowledge is in wisdom, is in applying it. You see, the beauty of knowledge is in understanding. So the very concept of understanding is not, it's not independent of itself. It's to amplify, or it's to improve the value. Yes, improve or to amplify the value of what you have, the knowledge, what you have, what you know in itself. Okay, so now we're going straight into it, and we're talking about how exactly do we develop understanding. How do I go from 0 to 100 in understanding? So I get into a course or a particular coursework. I'm being taught a particular topic, and it's sounding gibberish in my head. Like, it's not making any bit of sense. How do I go from that to comprehending and understanding, and even being able to like apply that knowledge that was initially gibberish or did not make sense to me? How do we go from 0 to 100? That's what we want to actually talk about in this session, the science of understanding. Can you engineer understanding? Can you create understanding? And I think a very, very interesting way I want to start my answer would be to say that how do I say this? For the mere fact that you can hear me and what I'm saying makes sense to you, or you can comprehend, or at least, yes, you can comprehend what I'm saying, like as you're hearing me and your brain is processing it, is enough proof that you can go from 0 to 100. Okay, now let me see it. So, when every child is born, allow me to say, I could literally say the brain is empty. Like, when I say the brain is empty, meaning they have no experiences as regards life, you understand? And then from time to time, little by little, this child starts to experience life, starts to see life, and then you realize now that it's said that many of the things that frame and make us throughout the entire part of our lives usually come in within the first 5, 7, 8 years of that person's existence on the earth, that person's life. So your entire life many times is your perspective, your outlook, and all these things on life, many times is already established between the ages of 0 to 8, 0 to 10. You already have a perception of humanity, a perception of life, a perception of relationships, a perception of what is valuable, what is important, right? And now you will also realize now that when you start growing, okay, now you get into school. Why exactly? I think this is probably something I would address at some points, at a later point in time, because people need to understand why exactly are we going to school? Why do we go to school? Because if you don't know why, if you don't understand the purpose of school, of the academic system, of academics, you can't exactly maximize it. Now that's why Dr. Miles Moore of blessed memory, I heard this powerful statement from him that when the purpose of the thing is not known, it's always going to lead to abuse, right? You can't avoid abuse, because abuse is abnormal use. Purpose is the predestinated, the designed function, the pre-designed intention or function of a thing. Alright? But abuse is the abnormal use. They are based on like abnormal function or whatever the case may be. So when people understand why school, it will make so much sense I think they'll just have more value for like this school itself. But that's not what I'm getting to. the early days of your childhood in school, the early years of your time, your early years in school rather, was to develop something called literacy. Literacy, your ability to read and to write. And I mean, you came with fresh head, nothing, could not identify anything. How come you can read? How come you can hear me now? You can understand what I'm saying. You can listen to me. You can follow conversations. You can even speak multiple languages. How come? That's enough proof that you can go from 0 to 100. So I'm prepping you and making you see the fact that it's possible. Whatever course you may or may not be studying, whatever way you want to apply, and whatever aspect or whatever thing you want to understand, it's definitely possible. The same way you meet someone absolutely random first day, and 3 months, 6 months down the line, this person is your go-to person. This person becomes your go-to person. You're close, you're laughing, you're vibing, you understand each other. And okay, 2 years down the line, depending on like the context, the person is your best friend. You're so close, you're so tight. Sometimes you even go further to have like a romantic relationship, work towards marriage. I mean, like I said, depending on context. What am I trying to bring out? You went from 0 to 100. You went from this person being a total stranger to coming into a place of familiarity, closeness, relationship, and then, I mean, the relationship is, you get what I'm trying to say, right? So you can definitely go from 0 to 100. 0 to 100. 0 to 100. So you would see how you start off first by, I mean, for example, numbers. How were we taught how to write numbers? Okay, now, the first thing they'll teach you is like how to even hold your pencil and like make a stroke. So they would hold you and teach you how to make a stroke, and then they call it stroke, and you practice strokes, you repeat strokes, and you write strokes so many times that you finally know what a stroke is, and you continue to stroke. Then the next thing they go to is stroke, and then they start teaching you dash, stroke, dash, stroke, dash. You learn dash, and you know how, okay, this is when they say stroke, your mind already has been trained that this is what they mean when they say stroke. So you draw a stroke, you ask you to draw a dash, you draw a dash. The next thing they teach you is what a curve, and they teach you a curve. You practice a curve. After they've taught you that, the next thing they do is they start combining these things together. You start hearing things like, number 1 is what? Stroke. Number 2 is what? Curve dash. Okay, number 3, curve. Then number 4 is what? Stroke dash. Are you seeing that? 5 is what? You have dash, stroke, curve. And that's how we became. I mean, that's going down to the alphabet. Okay, so reading the alphabet, you start first with letters, single letters, and you learn how to write A, and then you move to B, and you move to C, and you move to D, and then they now move to teaching you sounds, and then you start to voice the sounds. A for apple, right? And you go like that, and you progress that way, and then you get to a point once you've learned the single alphabet, they start pairing them up together to form 2-letter words. So it's like eat. You remember these things, right? And then you would do that and practice that, and then they take you further, 3-letter words. Heart. What did you just say? But you get what I'm trying to say, right? Just calm down. You get what I'm trying to say, right? So by the time you understand 3-letter words, then you're now going to something called, now I remember we used something called a queen primary. Queen Premier. Queen Premier. Queen Premier. Funny how we might, I used to call it Queen Premier. Funny, that's different thing. I used to call it Queen Premier. But yes, Queen Premier. Now, this book is a very simple, like a book where we had rhymes, words, and we would read that and practice that too. You'd see, for example, if I remember correctly, I go up. Now, I believe that was to teach us sentences and like constructing sentences or like reading sentences. But you can't go straight to Queen Premier if you've not been taught stroke dash. You've not been taught how to write the letters. You've not been taught the singular pronunciation of the words. All right, so these things, it's actually very possible to go from 0 to 100. And what I want to do in this session, in this teaching, is to put together before you a process that anyone and everyone actually can pick it up, because that's the same process we went through, establishing our literacy ability. Okay, so I put together a process, and I actually saw this. It was a popular statement made by a popular Jewish prophet, actually. Right, so it was a popular Jewish prophet that actually made this statement, and that's why I said, like, wow, this is actually it. Like, yeah, this is it. All right, so I want to show you that statement. I'm going to read it out to you, and then we'll go to the source. All right, so what's the statement? Everything must be precept must be upon precept upon precept, line upon line upon line, a little here, a little there. Yeah, so let's check Isaiah 28 verse 10. Isaiah, yeah, is the Jewish prophet, very famous prophet, very powerful prophet. I mean, Isaiah 28 verse 10. So we'll be working with the King James Version and the New Living Translation. All right, so let's check it out. The King James Version says, yeah, this is it. For precept must be upon precept upon precept, line upon line upon line. Here a little, and there a little. Now let's check it out in the NLT, New Living Translation. It says, it tells us everything over and over again, a line at a time, in very simple words. Beautiful. So now let's come back to KJV and then let's build. So when we say, now, when I'm going to talk about these things, it's in 3 primary phases. All right, so this process is in 3 phases. All right, there's the precept phase, there's the line phase, there's the here and there phase. Follow me. All right, now the reason why it's like this, because like I said, this is the science. So when you say something is a science, you are basically saying that this is, when you say there's a science to doing it, there's a systematic body of knowledge, a system of knowledge, of information. It's organized, it's structured to getting this result. So what I'm showing you here is science, a systemized flow to achieving or to getting into understanding. Right, so I've heard this a couple of times with some of my friends. Right, so some of my friends were talking about the phone, talking about like school and things like that. Right, and I shared these principles with them. I explained it to them, and I'm like, wow, actually, I mean, this is it. And then we had this event in 2024, so early 2024, beginning of the year in 2024. And I scratched the surface of this, right? I taught it to an extent. So quite a number of students, we had people from like different parts of the world connect in, register for the event, join in and listen, and it was really phenomenal. Or it's really phenomenal stuff. And so I'm going in depth in this teaching, the science of understanding. So let's talk about it first. The first layer or the first phase is what? Precept. We need to understand the concept of it. Okay, you understand why I laughed? when I said the concept, you understand why I laughed very soon. We need to understand precepts. All right, we need to understand precepts. So, what exactly is precepts? What is a precept? A man I love so much, Dr. Miles Moore of blessed memory, he said and taught that a precept is an original idea, an original thought. An original idea is a precept. It's a what? A precept. It's like the foundation of it's the foundational idea. It's the baseline idea, the baseline thoughts, right? It's like the thought before the thoughts, something like that, precept. So it's the original idea, the original thing, the core thing, all right? And based on that, he also communicated this very powerful truth that everything starts from an idea. Yeah, Dr. Miles Moore said, everything starts from an idea. Everything is a product and a function of an idea or ideas. Now, I would explain this. Don't worry, just follow me. You would understand what I mean by everything starts from an idea. Everything starts from an idea. Everything you see in creation, in nature, even man, started first from an idea. So when we say precept, we're talking about an original idea, the foundation, the core of an idea, okay? The baseline of an idea. So now when you say concept, these are like words we just use. So when you're told to explain the concept of, and when you hear the word concept, the word concept is an idea that has been formed, that has been conceived, concepts. Okay, that has been what? Conceived, it has been formed. So it's no longer just foundational idea, it's been formed, it's been constructed. Okay, it's been constructed, concept, conceived idea, constructed idea. Okay, so it's been formed, it's been constructed, it's been, I can even say it's been completed, right? You understand? So a very, very good illustration of this whole precept concept thing would be, now imagine you're having a conversation with, imagine you observe it, you're observing a conversation between an architect and a young bachelor who wants to build his first house, right? So he's in his mid-20s, 25, 26, thereabouts. He's well-to-do, he wants to build his first house before he gets married, and he engages the services of an architect. Right? So they get down, they have a sit down, and this man is sharing with the architect what he has in mind, how he wants the house to look, the number of rooms the house will have, the setting of the spaces, how the living areas will be organized, and all these things like that. Now, he has communicated that to the architect. So the architect, based on those ideas, and then the available resources, okay, how much land does he have? Does he want to use to build a plot 2, 4, 5? Okay, how much resources is he willing to engage? Basically resources, right? So based on this idea and then the available resources, the architect now brings out something. So he draws out the plan, captures the ideas, and make them take shape. Now, what happens there is the man, the bachelor then, had the precepts. The precepts is the original idea. The concept is when that idea has been given shape, has been formed. When the idea has taken shape, that's taken a shape, that's taken a form, it has been conceived. That is what? A concept. So interestingly, you would see some architects would name their businesses maybe something concepts. I mean, we use those words very just like so ordinarily and normally, right? But that's what a concept is. A concept is an idea that has taken shape, that's taken form, has been conceived, constructed, completed. Now, but the architect has just he has drawn out the plans, based on the ideas, okay, how many rooms you want, how many setting of the spaces, where do we put the toilet and everything. So the architect here has, based on that, those ideas, he has captured them, giving the ideas shape. Mind you, the house has not been built yet, physically. But trust me, in the mind of the bachelor, he already built the house in his mind. He already thought about the house. That's the original precept there. The concept is the sketch, the building plan put together by the architect. That original idea now has been conceived, has been constructed, has been given shape. All right, so the bachelor, for example, could just, well, I don't exactly have anything specific in a sense. I want 5 bedrooms. I mean, I want to have 3 sitting rooms, 3 living areas, right? Living rooms you get, and then I want a dining room. I want a really large kitchen. I want us to have a balcony. We should have a nice garden and all those kind of things. The architect takes all that raw, original, on idea, everything, and then brings it together and gives it shape, right? The physical house, the physical building has not been constructed yet. So it's after the concept has been established, the physical, what people now see that, and they say, oh, these people have started building a house here. That's why actually when the building started. Building started in the mind of the bachelor. But the external physical expression or the physical construction of that building, because that building, that house was an idea. That house is an idea that the bachelor had communicated to the architects. Now, the reason why I was able to communicate, okay, I will explain this thing, just stay with me. How I was able to communicate it with and to the architects? He already completed it in his head. And that was already a concept. He had completed it in his head. You can also call that a concept in its sense. And then for him to communicate it, to expose that concept, to expose his original idea to the architect, he used something called words. Exactly. So these words I am also speaking right now, they are exposing ideas, exposing concepts and precepts already formed and completed in my mind, in my thoughts, in my imaginations, in my heart. Words expose. Words expose. So that's why I remember one time I was having a conversation with someone, and I told the person that I think I've also heard it somewhere, where that if you want to know the quality of a man's mind, listen to the quality of his words, or just be on the lookout for the quality of his speech. Because out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. You see that? So it's out of what has been conceived and constructed in your heart, not those concepts, those ideas in your heart. Your words expose them. So if I don't use words to vocalize something, you don't know it. You don't know I have it in mind already. Well, except God, or by divine revelation. So words expose. Words expose.
Amazing! You listened till the end. Now tell me, what was your aha moment while you listened? Share it in the comment section and let others learn from your experience. Also, share today's episode with someone and stay connected with us for more faith-filled guidance on school, life, and purpose.